Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stream Key Podcast, our weekly show here at TRUgaming, where we talk with streamers about how to improve on Twitch. Once again, I'm happy to have TomCruzMomShoes back in the show for an interview show, finally. Tom, welcome to the show, dude. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Green. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing great, dude. Thank you for coming on the show. Sort of last minute notice, but I really appreciate you coming on here.
Sure.
Really excited to have you today. He was on a call-in show a couple weeks back, but I haven't gotten the chance to sit down and interview him yet, so I'm excited for that. For this show, for anyone who doesn't know how the show works, if you're new to the show, basically Tom and I will talk for the first 40-ish minutes about the hot topic, which today is streaming and whether that should be a job or a hobby, which is sort of like a mouthful, but we'll get into that. And I think it'll be a really cool discussion. And then if you have questions for him, at the end of the show, like 40 minutes in, you can ask any question you have related to this topic or just streaming in general, and Tom and I will do our best to answer that question for you. So, but just to start off, I want to just give some warm-up questions and kind of introduce you to people who don't know you as well. So can you just give like a brief overview of your channel, what it's all about, how long you've been on Twitch, all that sort of jazz?
Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Gabe, known as TomCruzMomShoes on Twitch and all forms of social media. I've been streaming on Twitch for about 14 months, so since May of 2017. My channel is kind of around Tom Clancy's The Division. I have streamed other games, and I do stream other games from time to time, but most of the content that I do is related to Tom Clancy's The Division. And yeah, I mean, I stream part-time as a hobby just to get started there. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. We're going to break that down for sure more. Just because I'm curious, how long have you been kind of consistently in the Division directory?
I started back in May. I streamed Tom Clancy's The Division consistently until I built my PC, and then I played PUBG exclusively for about 5 months or so, and then I went back to the Division directory. But I would still stream the Division from time to time. Yeah.
So it's sort of like your home on Twitch. You never really left it, and now you're back.
Yep.
Gotcha. Very cool. I love the Division. I think there's a really cool community around that. So excited to see more people kind of building up that space. So my second question for you, just to warm up here, is do you have any weird... Okay, first of all, you have an awesome username to start off. I just have to preface it with that. But do you have any old usernames that maybe weren't so awesome or you're embarrassed of, or just fun ones to share?
Not necessarily embarrassed about my name prior to my current name, TomCruzMomShoes, was No Me Jodas in Spanish. And it had like the 2 X's in the front and the back because the original one was taken. It really means in Spanish like "don't mess with me," but English speakers would just call me like Gnome Jodas, so that was kind of weird. People didn't really understand what it meant. So
Gnome Jodas, I love that.
Gnome Jodas, yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty much.
Well, it sounds like if you know what it means, it's intimidating, and otherwise you're just the Gnome Jodas guy. So
pretty much gnome.
That's great. I just like to ask that to see if there's any cool stories.
Sure.
Third one here would be, do you have like a single favorite streaming memory on Twitch in your time on here so far that you can think of?
Yeah, I can actually think of 2. The first one, I actually got hosted by the official Division game channel on 3 different occasions, actually. Sent me over a pretty significant, sizable host. So that was really satisfying for me to know that they kind of recognized the content and saw that I was doing something in a positive space. So I was happy about that. The second one, I would say, was not too long ago. It was my 1-year stream anniversary. We did like an IRL stream, and it was just so much fun. There was this whole segment where I basically did Microsoft Paint, and people would just throw random topics at me, like Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction when he sticks the hypodermic needle in Uma Thurman, draw that in Microsoft Paint.
And gosh.
This went on for like an hour, just drawing random stuff in Microsoft Paint. It was pretty funny. That was a pretty memorable stream.
That is hilarious. Have you ever, is that now routine on the channel? Have you ever done it since then?
No, I have not. I definitely thought about doing it again, but I don't know how to implement that, like Microsoft Paint with Tom or something. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
pretty funny.
it
I put a
sounds
highlights video together. It's on my YouTube channel. So
okay. Well, yeah,
yeah,
it sounds like a good potential candidate for like a repeating segment. So just try that.
yeah.
And for the when you got hosted by the division, was it
hmm
for anything in particular? Was it just a surprise out of nowhere? Like, what's the story there?
the Well, the story starts like most of my stories start. I was drinking on stream. I was pretty buzzed, and it was a Friday night, and the Division game does regular streams on their channel. And at the time, there was a community developer who since then has been promoted to like a larger role outside of the Division. He's more of a Ubisoft community developer now,
Hmm.
overseeing several games. But him and I kind of had dialogue on Twitter just randomly about different things. And, he was hosting the channel and saw me online and threw me the host. It was pretty unplanned and a surprise. And at the time, I had only been streaming like 2 months. So you could imagine 900 viewers, 1,000 viewers in your channel.
Yeah.
And you're new and drunk. So it was it was an interesting experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really cool though. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you probably had like the fact that they did that repeatedly means that there might be a good opportunity for a connection there. So
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting, especially since you stream that game primarily now. So
Right.
that's really
Right.
cool. All right, so let's get into the main discussion for the show, which is
Sure.
streaming versus, well, whether your stream should be seen as a job or a hobby, essentially. So the reason I want to talk about this today is because you've said in the past, I think you said it on the show, that you see streaming as a hobby. But despite that, you've seen a lot of growth and success with your channel. So do you want to quickly talk about like really what you mean by that in terms of why maybe you will always see it as a hobby, or if you will always see it as a hobby, just how you feel about all of that?
Sure. And again, I'm going to preface this like, everybody's situation is completely different. I see things in numbers. I'm a numbers guy, right? Like, as far as streaming, I enjoy it, and I kind of fell into it randomly, believe it or not. And I take it very seriously. I do it part-time, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I try to be as efficient as possible with it. But I personally don't see myself ever being able to stream full time and make that sustainable for me and my family. So it's kind of why I always focused on it as a hobby and never really tried to make it into a job, like not even a part-time job. And again, going back to when I first started streaming, there's another streamer that I'm still very friendly with. Him and I are actually going to share a house in TwitchCon. He said something to me very impactful. He said, the minute you start thinking about streaming as a job, you're gonna stop enjoying yourself. And there have been moments throughout my own streaming journey where I kind of get caught up in that, and I have to remind myself that this is just something I do on the side for fun, and I do it to grow a community and to meet people, and it kind of takes the pressure off quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a really huge piece of it, I think. I want to talk about this topic because I get the sense that, especially recently on Twitch, a lot of people seem to have this pressure to like always think about going full time. Like, how can you make streaming a full time job? How can you get there? It seems like everybody I talk to is thinking about that, and that is where they want to get to. But do you kind of feel like maybe people, I don't know about have bad ideas, but maybe they have unrealistic expectations of streaming sometimes?
I feel like this podcast is always like follow your dreams kind of topics, and today Tom's like F your dream, I'm gonna crush them. I'm gonna speak to you guys honestly, right? I feel like streaming is one of those weird spaces. If you think about, like, I don't know, professional basketball players, I mean, I was a pretty good like pickup basketball player in my youth, right? Like, I grew up in Harlem, played against a lot of real talent. I never thought about going to the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of did it. It was fun. It was competitive. I took it seriously. But for some reason with streaming, people feel that it just looks really easy to do. It looks like anyone can do it.
Yep.
And, if we're looking at Ninja as the LeBron James of Twitch, like, everybody thinks that they can be LeBron. And it's streaming, I guess it makes it look more attainable. But I mean, you think about there's 3 million streamers on Twitch and only what 30,000 partners, and that's 1%. So most people are in the 99%. So I don't know. That's just me. I just feel like people kind of overstep themselves and look and think something is attainable, and sometimes it's just not.
Sure. Yeah, that phrase you just said, I hear that so often. Like a lot of times, whether it's on this podcast or just talking to people who started streaming, or like, sponsorship applications, everyone's always kind of like, well, I saw such and such streaming and I thought, hey, I could do that. So why don't I do that? I hear that 90% of the time. That's why people start streaming. So I agree with you on that a lot. But I do want to, so I like that you're bringing like a real perspective to this, because I don't think you're just like, taking a dump on people's dreams. This is an important perspective to have, because.
Oh, I want to do that though.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're free to if you'd like to. But
no, I'm kidding.
My point basically is that, like, while all the stuff we talk about on this show is important to keep in mind if you want to succeed, you still have to keep a realistic mindset of like what is actually reasonable on Twitch, what can you really expect to see, and not to shoot for like this huge goal and then get crushed when you get nowhere close to it. But I do want to mention that, like you said, like not everyone's going to get there. But that doesn't mean you can't take something seriously, right? Because you, for example, considering that you have a hobby stream, that's what you label yourself essentially, you still put a lot of effort into it and have seen a lot of success with your channel since then. So do you want to talk about how maybe while still being a hobby streamer and not looking to go full time, you can still see a lot of success and put work into your stream?
Right. So I mentioned that I play Tom Clancy's A Division, so I can only really talk from my own perspective. My stream, again, most of it is related around that game. As far as it being a hobby, and I talked about this in the phone-in Friday, I look at it like, the guy that plays golf on the weekends, right? He takes it super serious. I mean, he has a job during the week and he takes care of his family, but he's super competitive about his golf games on the weekends and tries to buy the best equipment and goes to the range whenever he can, and that's kind of how I look at streaming. Like it is a hobby, but I take it very seriously, and again, when it comes to having a family, like I'm married, right? I have a wife, I have a teenage daughter who has braces I got to pay for, and I got all these responsibilities. I get the house, I got everything else. When it comes to streaming, I need to be efficient, right? Like I need to make sure that I'm providing some sort of quality content, and then I'm networking and talking and engaging with the right people outside of my stream, and making time for all those things. So I have to be super efficient about doing that. I need to make sure that if I'm only live 12 hours a week, where, the regular person is streaming 8 to 12 hours a day, how am I going to be able to grow my community? So I have to take it seriously, right? I have to make sure that I'm kind of making the right opportunities for myself, so to speak.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I was just writing down their efficiency because I want to circle back to that if we have some time later. But yeah, I think you just nailed it on the head right there. Like, another great example of another case where you can do something on the side and still put a ton of effort into it and do it very well without needing to succeed on it and feeling the pressure that like this has to work or I'm just screwed, right? That's a backup thing. That's a passion project that you do on the side. And I think that's a great way to take streaming. I think that's how most people start streaming. But then I also get the sense that people kind of switch over to the pressure of needing to succeed at some point along that road. From what I see.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think that's because most people that are streaming are gamers, and gamers are competitive. So they get into that competitive mindset that, and I've spoken about this before as well. Like, sometimes people become haters a little bit, right? They look at everybody else's success and they start comparing themselves. And once you start doing that, you already messed up.
Yeah.
Once you're looking at this guy and that guy and saying, how come him? How come not me? You already messed up. You need to just focus on your lane and try to do the best that you can,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, comparison, we talked about this on a podcast yesterday, but no matter where you are on Twitch or in any other space, like comparison will kill you because you can always be better. There's always going to be someone who's one step ahead of you. So I
Right.
definitely agree with that. So let's talk about like the specific benefits of having a hobby mentality with streaming. Because I think it does kind of open up some, like we talked about you don't need to succeed as much. There's not that much pressure for that. But what are
Right.
some other benefits of seeing your stream as a hobby and not something that has to work in the end?
Again, I'm not a full-time streamer, but I would assume that the downside of being a full-time streamer is that your success is dependent on, or you paying your bills is dependent on your success, right? So I think the difference in goals, right? As a hobbyist, you can adjust those goals and you can measure success in whichever way you want. Like if you say I want to increase my concurrent viewership by 3 this month, cool. Someone who's depending on full-time streaming to pay their bills, they can really only measure their success on if they have enough food to eat that month. So it's I think it's very, very different.
Yeah, that's really true. I think, yeah, in terms of like what you want to get out of the stream and how important it is, that's so big, right?
Yeah.
Because someone who is just having it as a side project is not going to feel crushed when something doesn't work out, or maybe
Right.
they have a bad month or something with subs, or they just don't in general feel like the monetary need of the stream. Which I think could probably compromise the integrity of the stream sometimes. If you're so worried about money,
Yeah.
making money, maybe you actually end up not enjoying what you're doing, which was the point of it in the first place.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like once you start throwing money in there, it becomes a different activity altogether. Um, I don't know. I've seen it. I've been around Twitch a little while now, and I've seen people that are under that pressure of paying the bills, and it creates conflict with even with family when that doesn't happen. So um, I don't know. Just me. Listen, I do the math, right? Let's do the math real quick. Like full time. And I know partners get like more than 50%, right? So let's talk subs, right? You get a tier 1 sub, you get $2.50 out of that, right? Someone that has 1,000 subs, that's $30,000 a year. I can't live on that. Like I would literally, I'm not gonna tell people how much money I make, but like I would need a considerable amount of subscribers like to be able to even pay my bills and sustain my current lifestyle. So for me, it's just completely unattainable. Like unless, again, I increase my sub count by 1,000% right now. Like I just don't see that as happening. So I always kind of just look at my stream and say, all right, let me try to build a community and give people a space that they can come hang out with me for a little while whenever I do have an opportunity to go live, and try to help other people out with their goals in small ways, and just keep it there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like you said, like getting to the point, depending on what your standard of living is on Twitch, like getting to a point where you actually not just like you can get by, but like being comfortable financially, that is really tough to get to, I think.
Yeah.
Especially like there's a long road to get there for most people. I
Right.
think also, what do you think about burnout for people who, like for yourself, have you ever felt a burnout as a hobby streamer? Because I know this is something that a lot of people who want to take it full time feel regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have felt burnout, and I think that's more in my past, in my experience at least, it's had more to do with the games that I play. Again, I play one game on stream most of the time now. There was a time when that particular game wasn't in the best state. It's in a much better state now, and there's just tons to do, so I can create content with that. But in the past, I've gotten to a point where I've kind of, what am I doing here? I'm not really enjoying myself, so the streams suffer. And I just, I find myself going live and wanting to end stream early, or, sit on the couch and watch TV instead of actually going live and engaging with my community. So I think the burnout for me, at least, isn't really about, feeling burnt out from having too much on my plate. It's more about like, I don't know what I want to do on stream, so I don't really feel like streaming, or I don't feel like I'm providing value at this moment.
Sure. But let's say like in those times that you have felt that burnout a little bit, my guess is that by being a hobby streamer, that gives you some more freedom to take a break or something, because like if you're financially dependent on your stream, then if you don't stream, you're not making money. You're losing.
Right.
You know, you can't eat that week or something. Whereas if you're a hobbyist streamer, yes, like your numbers might dip or something, but financially, like realistically, you're still the same person. You're still okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? Probably.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't make tons streaming. I mean, I do make some supplemental income, and it is nice to have. And I've spoken about this in the past. Like anyone who's part of my community, I'm super super open about the money that I receive. And I've had conversations with other streamers about this, but I don't use. Again, I can only speak from my own experience and where I am in my own life, right? I don't use any of my stream money for anything that's not stream related. So any income that I get, like I'm super open about it. My community knows. Anytime they donate, they know, or anytime they give tips or whatever, that money's going right back into my stream. It's going to support other content creators, which I support. I probably subscribe to more channels than most people subscribe to. It's just one of those things that I like to do. I'm a community based guy, and I like to support everybody that supports me. So yeah, I think somebody's in chat right now, the Foxy B. Like him and I talk about, am I positive or negative this month? Because I tend to spend more than I actually make, and I'm super open about that. But again, that's just my own unique situation. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that you have that freedom, though, to
Yeah.
kind of be able to give to people and give back instead of feeling like you just can't afford something. Or I just think the freedom that you get from having a hobby mentality for your stream is really powerful.
Right.
I guess also even we talked about like how financial pressures can kind of compromise the integrity of a stream. Do you think
Sure.
because I know I've seen streamers in the past who have, they started off with a very amazing stream. They're still great streamers, but they got to a point where they tried to take streaming full time, and it got very hard. And then they changed the shift of the stream to essentially to try and bring in more money, and that I think actually hurt them in the long run. So have you seen that happen with other people who've tried to take streaming too seriously, maybe, and aren't ready for it yet?
I have. I have seen that, and you see it again. People kind of overstepping their, I don't know, boundary, whatever phrase you want to use, kind of overstepping where they realistically are in their own streaming journey. Just kind of, I don't know. I use the analogy again of the NBA. Like you're playing pickup basketball, and you're expecting to walk on the court with LeBron. It's not really going to happen. The one thing again, and this has nothing to do with hobby streaming or full-time streaming, people don't educate themselves, right? Like people don't go, like streaming is one of those few things in the world that people do not educate themselves about before they start doing. They just jump in, they do it, and they expect to know everything about it. And then they want to go full-time before they even know like the basics of Twitch etiquette or how to support other people, or even the basics of doing things in OBS. They don't really know, and they're trying to go full time. I feel like people kind of move too fast and should really just take it slow. If you want to do it part time, get another job and do it on the side. And if it's something that you're working towards to be full time, again, I don't think anybody should go full time before you actually reach the point that it's at least close to sustainable, right? Like if you do the math and you say, I could live off of 500 subs, like you shouldn't be going full time if you've got 50 subscribers. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. You should at least, I mean, if you get to 250, 300 and you're like, if I put twice the amount of hours into this, I would probably get to that 500 that I need to live, then maybe that's a choice. But I feel like people just move a little bit too fast. And then they burn out like you were talking about before, or they just start worrying about money too much. I don't know.
No,
it's cringy to me. That's me.
I like that. I like that description. I totally agree with that. I think a couple of things there. Patience is so important. I see so many people like you talked about who just instantly want to start full time. Like they've been streaming for a couple months or something, maybe even like weeks, and they just decide to go full time with so little experience on Twitch. And And that I think is a huge mistake that a lot of people make and then end up regretting later on. Another piece is people don't do the math. Like you mentioned, like people who decide they want to go full time, even if they have experience on Twitch for a while, don't actually sit down and crunch the numbers on like how many subs you need to be able to buy groceries each week or something, or like to live basically. People don't calculate that stuff before they make this decision. So
Right.
planning is another huge part of it. I really think you just hit the nail on the head with that. So,
Good.
all right, so let's move into the flip side of having a hobby mentality for your stream. So, do you think there are any downsides to seeing your stream more as a hobby than a job?
Yeah, if it was a job, I would probably be ninja size right now. I could say that with 100% certainty that if I streamed 8 to 10 hours a day, I would be making $5 million a month. So, yeah. No, I mean, in all seriousness,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the size of the stream and all right, let's get into again. I like to talk this kind of stuff, and some of it has nothing to do with hobby versus full time, right? The amount of time that you stream, and I've kind of watched my own stream like over the past year, right? I always start, at 1 hour. I might have, I don't know, 15 viewers. And recently, by the time I hit that 3 hour mark, I might hit 50 or 60 in my chat, right? But then I'm getting off, right? So now if I think about it, if I were to go 8 hours, would I hit 100, 120, 150, and then average those partner numbers? Perhaps, but I would never know because I ain't got the time to do that, right? Like I can only stream 4 hours during the week because I work, and then my wife would kill me if I streamed any longer. On the weekend, could I swing it? Maybe, but then there's more competition in that directory, right? So it's one of those things where if I had more time to dedicate to just streaming, do I think my channel would be more successful? Sure. I think it's just again, I'm a numbers guy, right? It's a numbers game.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense. You just have more time to try something. It's like having a better chance to succeed at that thing, essentially. So, but how about a few questions on this topic? Do you ever, since you are I assume you're pretty public on telling everyone that you have like a hobby mentality with your stream, that you don't see it as a full-time job. Do you ever feel like you're taken less seriously by either streamers, viewers, or like companies for sponsorships and things like that?
No, I don't. At least not in my experience. I have 2 sponsors, TRUgaming being one of them. I don't think you guys take me less seriously because I know you guys look at a lot of content, and I think you see the amount of time that I actually put into it. I mean, I might stream 12 to 15 hours a week, but I am putting time into networking and working on streams, and I'm putting my own money into equipment and graphics and all of these things that I need. So, even though it's just a hobby, I do take it seriously. As far as other streamers, or viewers, I don't know. That's a really good question. My community, at least, most of them are in a similar situation as me, as far as people that I interact with a lot that are streamers. They're people that work full-time jobs, and they stream on the side, and we've kind of grown together. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but like I'm a community manager for a Discord community, right? It's called The Checkpoint. We have like 500 members, and it started with like 3 or 4 streamers that we were all the same size, and we all still stream, and we all work full-time jobs and stream as a hobby. And all of our communities know, like, who we are and what we're about, and I don't think they look at us and take us any less seriously. Not at all. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that was my hunch. I just want to see if maybe you've had some sort of special experience in the past with, I think this would mostly be true with other streamers or companies in terms of like maybe someone looks down on you for not taking it full time. Rare situation that might happen, but I'd be interested to hear that.
No, it's a numbers game.
Sure.
Again, it's all, I started this whole conversation saying I'm a numbers guy, right? Sponsors don't care most of the time, at least ones that are looking at it from a monetary perspective, right? Like if they're going to sponsor you, it's because you have X amount of viewers. So it doesn't matter if you stream 4 hours or or 10 hours. Like if you can come to them with X amount of viewers, that's really all they care about, like the size of your audience.
It's true. That's the biggest indicator at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Last things on this, are there any other downsides in terms of like maybe thinking long term for your channel? Do you think having a casual mindset essentially, or a hobby mindset, limits your growth in some sense?
Let me and you know, we're gonna get into semantics, but I'm not casual at all. Like I call myself kind of a try hard hobbyist, right? Like I'm not the least bit casual about streaming, guys. Like I take it very, very seriously. You know, I do look at my own content from time to time, and I actually in my Discord I ask my subscribers for feedback on what they're interested in seeing, and I ask my community the same thing. I definitely take it seriously. So it's not that I'm a casual streamer. It's just that the success of my stream is not going to affect me personally like it would if it were a job, right? Like I still bring home a check every other week, so it's not affecting me. So like I mentioned before, I'm able to adjust my own goals, and I'm able to measure my own success in any way that I want. If I want to measure my success in how many hours I stream, how many viewers I get, or whatever the case may be, how many people I talk to in a day, I can create whatever goal I want, where I feel like if you're streaming as a job, the only way you can measure your success is if you made enough money for your life to be sustainable. And I think that's the biggest difference between the two.
Sure, absolutely. I didn't mean to insinuate you were casual, by the way, because like I said earlier, Tom works very hard on his channel, and that's sort of why I want to bring him on, because you can be a hobby streamer and still take your craft very seriously, and that's what I mean.
You low key called me a noob, basically. So, I'm kidding.
I sincerely apologize.
I'm just
never.
Kidding, man. I know what you meant.
All right. Well, we got a couple more minutes till viewer Q&A session, but I have just a couple more questions for you. Sure. Basically, for people who are maybe at a crossroads here, who can't decide if they want to keep like a hobby mentality, or maybe they're thinking of going full time, what would you tell those people who are trying to decide between those two paths?
It's a numbers game. Like I said earlier, if you crunch the numbers, and you know, I saw kind of a message in chat earlier from one of our other sponsored streamers, and he said, you know, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have kids, so I'm in a different situation. Like his numbers might be different than mine, right? But regardless, you got to sit down and crunch the numbers, and look and say, you know, I'm at least close to where if I were to go to full time, I think I have a really good shot of increasing the subscribers, donations, whatever, in order for me to maintain my lifestyle. Then I say go for it. You know, just make sure you're putting in the time. And here's another thing about full-time streaming. Again, let's talk about numbers, right? I spoke about 1,000 subscribers is $30,000 a year, right? Let's say that the average streamer that has 1,000 subscribers, which I don't know how many there are, but I doubt that there are that many that have 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
How many hours do you think they work? They probably stream 8 to 10 hours a day, right? At least 5 days a week, I would say, right? Which you could work a normal job 8 to 10 hours a day and make $30,000 a year, right? But then on top of that, they're probably doing YouTube, and they're probably spending tons of time networking and having meetings and doing all of the things that we have to do, watch back their stream, where in a regular job, you kind of just punch out and you have a lot more time to yourself. I'm sure if you just completely broke down all of the hours that they worked, they would probably be making like minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're dedicating a lot more hours than a normal person would to their craft. It's not just an 8-hour a day job.
True.
So I don't know. It's just one of those things. You got to crunch the numbers. You got to look at if it's going to work for you, and if it's something that you 100% want to do, at least be somewhat close to your goal. Like like I mentioned earlier, you got like 20 subscribers and you need 500. You probably should push until maybe you get to like maybe 250, and then say, you know what, I can maybe get there if I stream, you know, more hours or something.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
that makes sense. I do want to qualify. So you said, basically it could be a minimum job. You can make the same money, but also get to punch out and then do something else with your life. At the same
Right.
time, you still get like the option of maybe going higher with the streaming job, whereas maybe in a traditional job, you're kind of locked into that job and you can't make any more money there or something like that. So
True.
it does have some upside, but generally, I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
Crunching the numbers is so important, staying realistic. And then you said maybe making a leap if you can justify it and you're close already. But
Right.
ideally, have the numbers there before you jump. So
And you got to enjoy it, man. Like it's got to be something that you think about constantly, and you got to love it, and you got to really like never feel like it's a burden, because then when it becomes your full-time job and you're already thinking about it's kind of a burden, I don't feel like streaming today, when you're doing it like part-time, like I don't know, it's just going to get worse exponentially. So I don't even think that it's really a good idea for you to do that.
yeah, I definitely agree. I can just make it worse, basically, than trying to make it better. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, my last question for you before we wrap up things here would just be,
Sure.
if you give one piece of advice to a brand new Twitch streamer, what would you tell that person?
I would tell that person to focus on educating yourself on streaming as a quote unquote art form. I would say watch as many streams as you can. Find good communities that you can engage with. Find other streamers of your size that you can grow with, and just put in the work to learn.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn. There's a lot after 14 months of doing this pretty consistently that I still don't know. You just definitely just need to educate yourself. I think people don't take enough time to do that. They want to turn on their PC or their console or whatever and go live and stream, and they don't really take the time that the more successful people have taken to do things behind the scenes to educate themselves.
Yeah. The core of what I've heard from you today is learning and planning are super key and having a
Yeah.
strategy, basically.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So that is the main interview with Tom. Thank you for that, Tom. That was really cool. So
Sure.
we're going to get into viewer chat questions here. If you guys have a question for Tom or myself about streaming, just tag me in the chat if you don't mind with @GreenChord with your question, and we will answer it here live on the show. It can be about anything. If you want to talk about hobby versus job streaming, if you just want to talk about a streaming topic in general, we will get to that and answer that. So
Yep.
in the meantime, I have a few backup questions to ask you. So
Sure.
you've been streaming a lot of The Division lately. What are sort of your long-term, or maybe just this year, plans for your channel?
For my channel, so I play the Division 2 platforms. I play it on PlayStation 4, which is like my main platform. I consider myself more of a console gamer than a PC gamer, but I do play on PC. There's just a shit ton of, can I curse?
Yeah.
All right, there's a shit ton of content in the game. Honestly, guys, I know it's had a bad reputation in the past, but if you're interested in a game that just has so much content to do, that feels rewarding and satisfying when you do it, The Division is in a really, really good place as far as a looter shooter. I feel like in that space, I provide value as someone who has way too many hours in the game, and I can teach people things. And there's not much in the game that I would not be able to help someone with. So I feel like that's one of the values that I provide in my channel. Like people come in and ask questions about the game if they're just starting out, and I can certainly steer them in the right direction. It's a pretty complex game. There's a lot of math involved. Again, I'm a numbers guy, so it's right down my alley. As far as for the future, Division 2 is coming out on March 19th of next year, and I feel like between now and then, I would like to position myself in being a resource and providing value in that directory. So when Division 2 comes out, and of course we're going to get this influx of large streamers.
Yeah.
The big 100 are going to be streaming the game, but once they leave, I want to position myself to be someone in the directory that people look to as a resource. So,
Yeah, that's super cool. I love that you have a long-term, like, next year, you're already planning for next March. I think that's really cool. And you're setting your channel up for success when that happens. So
Right.
I think you'll see some success that way. I hope you will. So we have some questions from the chat now. So Angry Gringa says, Tom, what are your thoughts on, or what's your view on variety versus single game identity? I'm struggling with this. So, deciding between to stream one game, which sounds like what you're doing mostly these days, versus a variety.
I've dabbled in variety streaming from time to time. Again, I've taken breaks from the division and I've done other games, single player games on stream. I've done, I played PUBG for a while, Fortnite. I've pretty much done it all. For me, I don't enjoy it. Again, I'm more of a community-based streamer. I like to know the people that come into my channel. I like to know where they're from, what time zone they're in. Like, nothing drives me more crazy than somebody coming in chat and I don't know whether to say good morning or good afternoon to them. So I really like to know where people are from. Like, I have people from Australia, from the UK, all over the place. So times are different. I like to know the people that are in my chat most times, at least the core people that come to my chat. When you play different games, as much as we all love to say, Tom, we love you, we watch you because we like you, I would say 50% of my community watch me because of the game that I play, and the other 50% probably follow me as a person. So you need to be realistic with that. You're going to lose some of your community. Some of your regular community is really interested in you, but in you playing a specific game. And if you jump around from game to game, you're going to just be meeting a lot of new people. If you're okay with that, then cool. Me, I like the community, and knowing people on a more personal basis.
Sure. Built around a certain game with that community,
Yeah.
right? Sure.
Yeah, it's just easier to know more people. There's more consistency there. Again, not that variety streaming doesn't work. Just for me, I've never really been comfortable streaming that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it sounds like at the end of the day, it's really a personal decision in terms of like what matters to you with your stream.
Right.
So, Gringa, hopefully that helps you out, and good luck on making that decision. Sodomi in the chat said, Tom Cruise, in my eyes, has that OG mentality, and I like that. What would you say to the younger streamers who are trying to find a good work-life balance while still staying consistent?
So all right, so Sodomi, thank you, man. Thank you for calling me an OG. You just made me feel old, so thank you. I'm kidding. OG is not bad. Let's go back to what I was talking about earlier, and you asked me, like, when should people think about going full time? When you're young. When you're young and you don't have responsibilities, you ain't got kids, and you don't got this other stuff. If you want to try to go full time and you think it's sustainable, I would do that while you're still young. And again, I'm not saying that age matters, because like if I was 60 years old right now and retired, I would probably be streaming full time myself, but that's a whole other story. What you're asking as far as a work-life balance is efficiency, man. You got to be efficient. You got to use your time efficiently. Don't waste time. I have a YouTube channel as well, and I sacrifice sleep, man. I go to sleep at like 10. I wake up at 4. When I wake up at 4, I'm looking at streams. I'm drinking my coffee. Sometimes I'll even film a YouTube video. And one time I had to like refilm it because I realized I didn't even wash my face. I had sleep in my eye. So you just got to make time wherever you can. So just be efficient. If you have some downtime at your job on your phone, you should be in Discord communities, networking with people and engaging with other people. If you're sitting down taking a shit, man, you should be on your phone networking, talking to people. Like, you should definitely be just using any time that you have to help your content. Just be efficient. That's the only thing I can really say.
Yeah, just hustling, really.
Yeah.
You also mentioned sacrifice there. I think that's a huge part of it. You really, like, if you want to get somewhere in anything, whether it's streaming or something else in life, like, sacrifice is going to be there. And it could be sleep. It could be, some people sacrifice family, although I don't recommend doing that. There's going to be sacrifice there somewhere, though. So it's important to realize. Commentator for you in the chat said, you mentioned how you focus a lot on networking. What are some of your biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to networking?
I got a long list of that. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? there's a lot of podcasts, man. This one talks about networking and other videos. There's other um, large podcasts out there from Twitch streamers and they're all going to tell you the same thing, that networking is just making friends. As far as dues, find people that you like and that you think are going to like you, and become friends with them. That's what I've done. I feel like, I have, and people from my, this is my me IRL shirt, right? Like, I have friends from real life who have judged me for feeling like I have friends in the internet space. Like, they don't understand that these people are truly friends. Like, I know as much about these other people that I engage with on the internet as streamers. I know as much about them and their families and their problems as I know about my friends in real life. Like, these are true friends that I've made in the streaming space. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be sharing a house with a group of streamers, all of who I consider my friends. Just make friends, and just surround yourself with the right people, like you would in real life, right? You get judged by the people you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with the right people, good friends, people who are just as efficient as you, who take things as serious or casually as you. Just surround yourself with people that are like you, and who you like, and who you can kind of bounce ideas off of and support each other. And that network will grow on its own, because there's people that they've networked with, and so on and so forth, and that starts to grow. The other thing is, make sure you're joining communities like TRUgaming. I found TRUgaming through this podcast, which again I find super odd that I'm sitting here on this podcast when just a few months ago I found this community through this podcast. I clicked on the link below in the description, as YouTubers would say, and joined the Discord, and I met all these lovely people in this community. That's another way to network. Just find people that you like. As far as don'ts, don't be self-serving. Don't do things to get things in return. Although you should be watchful of people who never do anything for you, right? Like, again, that goes back to efficiency. If you're fostering relationships that you don't really see any value in, not necessarily putting them to the side, but sometimes you need to invest your time in other relationships that are going to be able to reciprocate. You know what I mean? And that just goes back to being efficient. So yeah, don't be self-serving. Obviously, the basic ones, don't go in streams talking about, yo, come to my stream. That's the basic one. Yeah, it's just just be a nice person, be a person that you would like, and people will end up being attracted to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we always say on here, just make friends. I mean, that's what networking comes down to. But I also want to mention, if you guys are listening to this after the fact or watching on YouTube, like Tom said, maybe if you click on those links, you end up on the show someday. You never know. Could happen.
Yeah, it happens.
Dreams
do come true.
Yeah, they really do. Commentator, thanks for the question, man. Vegas Vault said, I have no issues generally keeping my viewers once they are in my channel, but what is the most effective way to get viewers inside the door initially, outside pimping social media?
Just send them nudes, man. It works every so.
I mean, gotta do it for those views, man.
Yeah, edit that out of the podcast. Cut. Bringing people in, again, I can only from my own experience as a Division streamer. I engage with the Division community a lot. That includes other Division streamers, other Division players. I watch the Division game Twitter quite a bit and respond. I go to their streams and engage in their chats. I try to engage with the developers directly whenever they ask the overall community questions. So as far as my stream, I'm going to end up getting some people in that just kind of know me as that guy with the weird name that's always engaging in the community. If Vengeful Gunner is stupid. If you do a different game like Destiny, maybe do the same thing. Like, you should be trying to engage with Broman and Gathalion and those guys in some sort of way. And I don't know, the game developers or whoever, the larger Destiny streamers, I don't know, whatever game you're in, you really should be trying to engage in that community and and at least be known in the community somewhat. Maybe go to the subreddits, which I tend to do as well. Instagram, I don't really do too much. Just social media, that sort of stuff is really important.
Right. But you also mentioned just Twitch itself, really, and being a part of the gaming communities on Twitch. I think that's really important because I
can't tell you how many times I've stopped in someone's stream, and it's so odd to me still. Even this morning, I subscribed to another Division streamer, and he sent me a direct message on Twitter and was like, "Dude, I'm a big fan of yours. I was humbled that you would subscribe to my channel." And like, there's people that are watching you, that are just really just waiting for you to engage with them, man. Sometimes they're just kind of lurking or whatever, and I can't really tell you how many times I've gone into streams and people are like, "Oh, what's up, Tom Cruise? I watch your stream all the time," or I've been in your channel, I know who you are, and then that's how you foster those relationships,
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps you out. Vegas Vault, thanks for the question. Last one I see here is from Azmat, who said, by the way, I just love that we have all these sponsored streamers in here right now. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
He said, we mentioned a while back that talking to viewers at the end of the stream is what a lot of people do. What is something you have had that proved successful at the end of your stream to encourage people to come back if they are a new viewer for that stream? It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a really good question, man. I don't focused on the end of my stream. I suck at that, actually, and that's something that I need to improve on. And you were actually on a show yesterday, GreenChord, and before that show started, she was actually talking about some things that you should be doing, towards the end of your stream, and it's something that I feel I need to work on. I'm really sloppy with the rating. I haven't figured it out, and my mods have criticized me about this. Like they always have really good, honest mods. Let them tear into you because that's what they're there for. They tear into me about that shit all the time. Hey, Tom, you suck at rating, man. What's wrong with you? So it's just one of those things where I haven't gotten a good process down, even after all this time. Sometimes I'll pull up like my display and I'll ask the community where they want to go. Sometimes I choose a streamer. It really just depends. As far as like engaging them, I just kind of tell them when I'm going to be back. I think it's important. You mentioned at the end of the stream is normally when I mention like the Discord, like joining my Discord or following me on Twitter, or if they haven't followed yet, I make sure it's really the only time. I never during my stream say, "Hey, follow my channel," but at the end of the stream, I kind of tell them, "Listen, if you forgot to follow, whatever reason, make sure you follow me now if you'd like to come back," and I tell them when I'm going to go live again. But outside of that, I don't really have any strategies to engage people at the end of the stream to try to bring them back.
Sure. No, I think actually what you said there is really good. There's a reason why, for years now, people have been putting calls to action at the end of YouTube videos. At the end of the YouTube video, please drop a sub, or whatever content you're watching or consuming, people always put stuff at the end. That works because people just sat through your content, and if they were there for that long and they're still there, they're probably interested. So that's a good time to ask them to give something back to you. If you guys enjoyed this, consider doing this for me, as sort of a trade type situation.
Right.
That really is not that like scummy or anything, because if people enjoy your content, they'll probably want to be part of it more in the future. So that works pretty well.
Call to action. I've never heard it called that, but
yeah, technically that's what it's called. Just basically, asking people to do something for you, whether that's joining a Discord, dropping a follow, whatever you want it to be. That's a good time to do it at the end of the stream. So,
right.
And I may do that on this podcast. I'll give you guys a live example at the end. How about that?
Yeah. Go for it.
One more question snuck in here from Foxy B,
Sure.
who said, "What do you both think about looking into the cam when talking to the chat? Something I'm still learning as I've only just started using Facecam after a while of faceless streams." I like this topic a lot. What do you think about that?
I'm really bad at that. I don't think I've looked at. Now I'm looking at the camera, but I don't think I've looked at the camera. Typically I'm focused on like I'm looking at chat right now, so that's kind of where my eyes are at, if you can see which direction my eyes are going. I'm really bad at that. I don't know. I would kind of pose that same question to the community. Like, what do they think about, like, I don't really have a problem if someone's not looking directly at me. At least me personally, I don't like watching streamers that don't have a face cam. I can tell you that much. I don't get, I don't know, they're just boring to me. And I'm sorry if you don't use a face cam. It's if you're my friend and you don't have a face cam, I watch you. If not, then it's really hard for me to watch a stream with somebody that doesn't have a face cam. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. I
No,
like
go
this
ahead.
topic a lot. I'm surprised that no one's brought it up before. It's really interesting. I think, like you said, most people don't really have a problem if you're not looking at the webcam. However, in most streams I've seen, if you do look at the webcam, I feel like it increases engagement with the chat more. Just because you're looking at one person who's talking like directly to you. And a lot of times, like if someone's kind of looking down and doing something and talking to you, if you come into a stream, you might not realize they're talking to the chat right now. But then if they turn and look at you, you instantly know they're talking to the chat. So like, while it may not bother people if you don't look at the webcam, I think if you try to make yourself do it more, it can actually help your stream a lot, and you'll probably get more engagement from the chat that way. So
call to action, look at the cam more. I'm learning today.
Yep, there you go. It's peer learning here on Stream Key today.
Yeah.
I'm learning too, for sure. All right, well, I think that is most of the questions, and we just hit the 1 hour mark, so that's about perfect. Tom, I want to thank you for coming back on the show, my dude. I really appreciate it. Anything you want to say to people before we kind of head off here, where they can find you, any of that?
Yeah, so TomCruzMomShoes is my name. I do have a YouTube channel that I would love. Can I talk about this?
Yeah, of course.
All right, I have a series on YouTube. It's called Low Level Streaming with Tom. I talk about topics like this. They're completely unedited, unscripted YouTube videos that I just kind of record talking. I am looking at the camera then most times. And I just talk about my recent streams, the numbers that I've hit over those recent streams, and then I kind of dive into a streaming topic. All those streaming topics are super relevant to small streamers or streamers that are in a similar position to me, or even streamers that are just starting out. You can find that at TomCruzMomShoes.com. I actually own that, and it's linked to YouTube. So you can find me at TomCruzMomShoes on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. And again, TomCruzMomShoes.com will take you directly to my YouTube channel.
There you go. I just linked it in the chat. If you guys are watching, go check that out for all of us links. It is a really cool series, and if you liked Stream Key, you'll probably like that series as well. So definitely be sure to go check that out. Guys, this has been Stream Key. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with Phone In Friday with Velok, and I think probably Snoopog again, unless we can find somebody else. We'll see. But if you enjoyed it, here's a call to action for you guys. Please, if you enjoyed the show, please consider going to check out the rest of the show. We just got on Spotify the other day, so that's the link I'm going to drop today. You can find all 45 episodes on there. You can listen to them when you're driving, in the car, walking your dog, whatever. It's just a really good way to grow as a streamer when you can't be streaming. So I hope you guys check that out, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, I hope you have a good day. Also, since Doc's not streaming, don't need to do this, but we're going to raid someone in a couple minutes, so stay on the channel, and we'll drop some love somewhere. So, see ya.
Awesome. Later, everybody.